Welcome to another Tuesday, my friends. New subscribers have been popping on the channel this week, and that's very exciting. So if you are a return visitor to the show, thank you so much. If you are a new subscriber and you're hiding out there and you haven't said anything in the chat, that's fine. If you'd like to say something in the chat, please say something in the chat. It is January. We are cruising into 2022, and it has been an amazing journey so far for me. Very, very busy. New clients, going to Spokane tomorrow to look at a live venue and all the things that they're doing. Going to get a chance to get some footage, going to get a chance to make some new friends, connect with some old friends, all at this facility, and so that's exciting. So leaving very early in the morning, so hopefully I won't wear myself out too much tonight. And if you are not a subscriber, you can't chat, but I have it set so if you do subscribe, within 5 minutes you can chat. And again, that's just to try to help us to just be able to get acquainted and hopefully get a chance to at least know you through subscribing because it's super, super important to me. And obviously we need to post some new upload videos, and we've got David in the house tonight. We've got Freddie in the house tonight. We got DJ Ware in the house tonight so far. Thank you for joining me. Last week we had a little buzz in the audio. I spent a couple hours yesterday trying to figure out what it was. I think I solved it. It was a stereo 3.5 millimeter jack going from my headphone out channel 4 in my Rodecaster Pro. I guess that's 5. This is 4. And the reason I had that hooked up as a backup, if for some reason my HOSA switch went down, and if you don't know what a HOSA switch is, I will show it to you here later in the stream. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do a tour of the studio. Probably not right away. I want to really get things cleaned up and then do that. So within a few days of hitting 1,000, and we're slowly getting close. Based on the path that we've been on, probably sometime in the next couple weeks, maybe even before next week's Tuesday Live. So the HOSA switch actually switches between my in-room speakers, which are off right now. And then I have one, so basically I can bring the stereo feed in from my Rodecaster Pro, and then I can switch between 3 locations. And one location is actually a Blackmagic Design converter, which I use to bring audio into recordings on my HyperDeck. And we've covered that before. It is a 6G HDMI to SDI. And if you didn't know, the HyperDecks have always been able to, at least the older HyperDecks have been able to record 4K up to 30 frames per second. So if you want to get that clean HDMI out of your camera into your HyperDeck, and it's an HDMI out on the cameras that I use in the studio, and I know there's SDI cameras out there. So you have to convert it, and you don't want to convert it at 3G because that'll only give you 1080p max. You've got to convert it at 6G, and that gives you the ability to bring that into your HyperDeck. And then obviously my EOS R has clean 4K out. This camera I'm on right now only does HDMI out of the HDMI output, but it will record 4K. I'm on the Canon 5D Mark IV. So, and this is the camera that I use to do our little instant replay, because again, I was only doing replay at 1080p, not at 4K, because the live stream is at 1080p. So wanted to talk a little bit tonight, tell you where we're at. That's kind of the introduction. Just want to say hi to everybody in the chat. And if you're joining me after this was live, thank you. I want to point out one more thing, and that is that we have a post show now. This show will end probably about 105, 107, somewhere around there. That gives me a chance to catch my breath, shut this stream down with the outro video, and then bring up the other stream. It's called the post show, and it's week 2. And I may have a special guest tonight, so you don't want to miss that. And we'll talk about that later in the show. But again, lots of things to talk about tonight. And really, tonight is going to be, because I've been so busy, and I've been getting questions from people on my channel. And one of those questions in the last couple days, let me turn my Just checking the audio. Let me know if everything's okay. Things are in focus. Just in the chat, and I will pay attention to that tonight. The questions I asked, and I know there's a little delay, so I'll keep an eye on that. Stop and Think is in the house. Thank you for joining me, Hank. And thank you for letting me know where you're at so other people can know that they're joining a group that's from all around, actually around the world, because Freddie is here from Venezuela, and that is not in my part of the world, but not that far away. So shout out to those guys that are here. And so the journey is continuing, and I'm getting busier. Obviously, you know, winter is still happening here in northern United States, and we had some really tough weather a few weeks ago. But again, I've picked up some new clients, and one of the questions that I got from just people out there that are using HyperDecks is, how do you render to it? In fact, I have one particular client that's struggling with getting anything to play in the HyperDeck, and so we're going to talk about that tonight. I want your input. So if you have a HyperDeck and you have rendered in Davinci or Final Cut or Adobe Premiere, I'm an Adobe Premiere user, so people ask me all the time, what do I recommend? And I recommend a editing software that works for you. And obviously, if you have the HyperDeck, my experience with Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere is it works great. And so you just have to pick a codec that will render with an alpha channel if you're doing keyed out graphics. And that's one of the reasons why you would buy a HyperDeck from the HD Plus and up in the new line, and any of the HyperDecks in the old line, is because they have the ability to do a fill. And what you're seeing right now is basically a fill. It fills the whole screen. And so you would not need to key this out unless you were going to do something with graphics and they had transparency. And it's kind of a complicated subject if you haven't been around video production and live streaming or recording or TV production, all of that, because, you know, keys and downstream keys and upstream keys and Luma keys and Chroma keys and all of those things like DVEs, those are new language for many of us. And even though I worked in a TV studio, I wasn't doing any kind of live broadcasting. I was live broadcasting, but we did everything pre-recorded. And so I would edit when I wasn't live. And we had about 3 hours in my time on that TV station where we were actually broadcasting live. And there were certain things that I had to cut to live. And that was back in the olden days where I was using a reel-to-reel tape. And so anything that we had pre-recorded in that TV station, then I would just hit play when it was time, and it was my job to do the transitions, and I had the bar and all that stuff, and it was a blast for me and very fascinating. So tonight I want to talk about rendering from any kind of video editing software. So if you know, like Davinci Resolve, I spent 3 hours yesterday. I downloaded Davinci Resolve. I've had it on my computer before, but I hadn't used it in a while. So I was just looking to see if the audio and everything's okay. It looks like it's okay. Hey, welcome, Tony. I'm just going to stop and say hi now that I look down here. And I'll look at these questions here in a minute. I see you guys are saying hi to each other. Anyway, so I'm not very good at this part of it. You know, to be honest with you, those guys that are out there streaming live that can actually put chats on the screen and do all of that stuff, I applaud you, because for me, I'm so focused when I go to read something, I'm not really able to multitask. And I can multitask, don't get me wrong. You're going to see that if you're in the post show. But in reality, I guess the older I get, the harder it is to do both. And that's why you haven't seen me use OBS and bring the chat in, because when you're in YouTube and you're live streaming, you can actually pull the chat out, and then you could actually use a plugin in OBS to put the chat on the screen. And obviously you'd have to key out all the backgrounds, but it's pretty well black and white, so it's pretty easy to key in the Luma key. You know, that's one way. You could use HDR graphics to do the chat on the screen. There's lots of tools out there, and I have demoed it and have played around with it, but I've never used it in a live stream. So I have to stop and acknowledge some of your questions and let you know who I'm talking about in the chat. So, hey, Muller, I think, if I pronounced that right, from Switzerland, thank you for joining me. Wow, I don't know what time it is there, but we would love to know. And maybe just like a quick sentence or two about you, if you'd like to, you know, where you're from, what you're doing. Do you live stream? Do you have a studio? What attracted you to the channel? And you can make those comments later if you want to just make them to me, and I will respond to those. But thank you so much for joining me. Also, we see Cato FM from Denver. I actually lived in Denver for a while, so thank you so much for joining us. Again, let us know a little bit about yourself. I don't see a name, so if you are someone from KETO FM, Denver International Radio Station, then 93.9 FM. So we give you a shout out. Thank you for joining me. Obviously, you have subscribed or you would not be in the chat. So exciting to have you guys here. Let me just, again, we want to talk about video editing tools. So right now, what I'd like you to do is if you would write what you're using, if you are using a video editing software. So I'm not looking for the PC or a Macintosh, or if you're editing on your phone, and there are some great apps to edit on your phone. I use one of the Adobe apps on my phone. So if you have a question about that, ask me and we'll talk about it. But I'm talking about on your PC or your Mac, what software are you using? I posted tonight in the still image 3 of the big things that my world pretty well hears about all the time, and that's Final Cut. Obviously, I think that's completely, totally Mac only still. And when I had my Mac, I never did purchase Final Cut. But again, I've been using Adobe for years, and it will work on a Mac or a PC. And over the years, that suite has gotten better. It's a subscription. So if you don't like subscriptions, then you'll probably stay away from Adobe. You can outright, I think, get Adobe Premiere, but it's very, very expensive. I think the first time I bought it was on a nonprofit license, and it was pretty expensive. I think the suite that I purchased for just the video editing side of it, so it had Adobe Premiere, it had Adobe Audition, it had all of the stuff that you really use around the video editing software. It actually was quite expensive. It was over $1,000, and if you did not have a nonprofit or an education license, student license, you would pay a lot more than that. So if you are going to college, or you have a nonprofit, or you're part of an educational system, I think you can reach out to Adobe. Then there's also Davinci Resolve, and we're going to talk about that tonight. There's 2 versions. There's the free version, and then right now they have their little interface that you can purchase for $3.95, and you get the interface and you get the studio version, I believe it's called, of Davinci Resolve, which is with all the bells and whistles. And I want to bring up the website tonight and look at the differences in what you get with the free version, or when you purchase the regular version over the free version. And I looked at it yesterday. It's quite fascinating. And so I have the free version loaded on my PC and my laptop. And I did some rendering yesterday, and I could only find a way to render a full screen video and get it to play in my HyperDeck. I still have not found a codec that I can render from, let me say this right, Davinci Resolve with a pre-multiplied, right, transparent background, and be able to bring it into the HyperDeck and then play it with the background keyed out. So, so if you know what to do, let me know. And I'm the guy that talks about the HyperDeck all the time, but because I've not used Davinci Resolve, and that's the question that my client has, they're using the free version of Davinci Resolve, and they don't want to have to buy another software. So I did some research, and we'll look at that tonight, and I'll kind of take you through what I know. And if you have any input, or you know which codec to use in Davinci Resolve so that it will play in the HyperDeck, please let me know. And I know Tony's here tonight from Quick Tech Solutions, and he has a HyperDeck now. So I'd love to find out exactly what you guys are using. So let's just kind of look. If you guys have put in the comments tonight what you're using, even those of you that are new today, I'd love to hear from you and what you're using in the chat. And I don't see anybody else, I think, that's joined us since I said hi. So let me just go back here and look at your comments real quickly, and I'll get the back cup out. DJ Ware says, that sounds, no pun intended, fun. Okay, I agree. Said hi to Hank. Audio and video, okay. Thank you, Freddie. I couldn't find that earlier. I can see it now. Hi, Tony. And he reached out to Freddie and DJ Ware and everyone else. That's cool. Again, hi from Switzerland, from you, Mula. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I apologize. I'm not trying to mess it up, but I'm sure I did. Again, we said hello to KETO FM, and I'm not your old friend, Freddie. Okay. Hey, I haven't been your friend for long, but I'm old. So, can also use, this is from Tony from Quick Tech Solutions. You can also use Aaron Parecki's Chrome plugin to bring the chat on the screen using the ATEM. That's how I do it. With your skills, it would be a breeze. Well, yeah, and I think I have that plugin, if I remember, way back in the springtime or whenever he did a real promo on that. I think I got that plugin, and that's the one I use. So it could be wrong, but I'm not going to dig into that tonight. But you can get the chat from the chat on your YouTube channel, and you can bring that in using that and bring it into your live stream. And that's how you'll see many people. That's just one way. Many people will pop your comments up on the screen. And I promise eventually I will get to that and do that so that I can let everybody see your comment. And it's a little easier. I enjoy that when I attend Aaron Parecki's live stream on Sundays. So that's great. Let's see. Also, Tony says, Tony commented about your studio, I think. Look, getting the camera angles and all that stuff ready. And so Tony from Quick Tech Solutions has got a channel. Go check that out. And he also is setting up a new studio. And I know what that's like, as I took over my man cave here and changed it into a production studio. And I use it. It's my office. I use it for interviews, and it's quite fun. And I'm learning something new every day. I love questions like I got this week, because hopefully by the time I'm done, I will know how to show people how to render perfectly out of Davinci Resolve until they make a bunch of updates and add features, and I have to discover those on YouTube, just like I was learning yesterday. So if you know a video too that's specifically Davinci Resolve rendering for the HyperDeck, not just getting rendering from Davinci Resolve with an alpha channel, it's got to be something that the HyperDeck will read. And let's just stop real quickly and say that the HyperDeck by Blackmagic Design, you would think, and I'm sure there is, a specific codec that the HyperDeck is very friendly with. And I'm sure there's licensing reasons, but when you do render something for the HyperDeck, you need to make sure that it's on the disk, that it's the same as all the other files. And then in the newer HyperDecks, I'm noticing that you need to set the codec on the first screen inside the HyperDeck. And let's just go ahead and tether the phone, because I do want to show you guys this right now when we're talking about it. So, sporting the new iPhone 13 Pro, so I can use the new cinematic mode, which we're going to talk about in the weeks to come. So let me tether here and make sure I'm live on my screen. And then I use, when I get it live, which it is right now, I go into an app that has a clean HDMI out, and I'm looking for it here. And it's called Filmic Pro. And then it gives me a clean out. And then I can cut to this and show you just the HyperDeck. So I'm going to leave the screen and show you just the HyperDeck here real quickly. Let me get this nicely focused here. And then let's cut to this channel. So here is my HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. And then here's the older Mini. This is part of the older line. And I did a series on this on my channel. Many of you find me from that. And then this is the new one that was announced, I believe, in July, and I've added it to my studio. And if you go into the menu, on the very first screen, I think you guys can see that, you have the codec. Oops. And right now I have it set for ProRes because that's how I normally render in After Effects and Adobe Premiere. So if I was to hit set, I can scroll down one notch, and I just use the wheel to do that. I can hit set again, and now I can scroll through all of these codecs, and you can see there's quite a few, and I've got ProRes HQ selected, and they're kind of divided in the H.264. When you get the bigger deck, you're going to see H.265 as an option, but not on this deck. And you go all the way down here, and you can also see this DNXHR and all the way down those versions, DNX down there. And so those are the codecs that you have an option, and hit menu again, and menu again, and you're out. And so now I'm back to the regular screen, can cut back to the main camera. And so setting the codec is what you have to do, it seems like, to be able to read the files. Now, when you read the manual, guess what the manual says? The manual says that that's to help your disk, right? So I'll pull my spare disk out. This is the one that I was rendering from Davinci yesterday and trying to get my Stinger to work on a Davinci Resolve file that was rendered onto this. And I already have my Stinger available for me, and I can play my Stinger right now. It's ready for tonight. So this is the Stinger, and it's got transparency. You're going to see me in the background, then it's going to cover me, and then you're going to see me come back. I'm not sure what that little glitch is. So that's actually in the macro. So that's my Stinger, and I was rendering that to the HyperDeck for a client to try to find a way to do a graphic that has transparency. And the only really reason to use the key, and that's not entirely true, but the main reason is to be able to let that transparency show through and make it really crisp, because the key can really take out that background and make it transparent. And it can also display lower third graphics, especially animated lower third graphics. Or let's say you wanted to put a bug up here in the corner and just have it rotating. It's going to let the transparency show through correctly, and you would turn that on in your keys if it's pre-multiplied, and you're not going to turn it on if it's not pre-multiplied. And to kind of show you that again tonight, let's see, do I have a macro for this? Yeah, me and my desktop. So let me move this here and this here. And then let's try this. Me and my desktop and me. There I am. So if you're wanting to use a pre-multiply graphic, which is something you would create in the program, so you'd create a transparent graphic, so nothing in the background, so no green, no color that you would chroma key out. You would literally make a graphic that sits on a transparent background, and then now you got to render it with an alpha channel, with that pre-multiplied channel. And so what you're looking for is a render with an alpha channel. And I'm very familiar with ProRes, and I'm familiar with After Effects and Adobe Premiere, but I'm not familiar with Davinci Resolve. And I understand that you have to have licenses to have those codecs in your software. So if you go up here to palettes, up here on the top right, you have 3 folders here. And here's the palettes for the keys, and I'm in SuperSource right now. So you got the color generator, close it, SuperSource. Then you have your keys, and if you have an A10 Mini, A10 Mini Pro, A10 Mini Pro ISO, you're gonna have one upstream key, and you're gonna have one downstream key. And you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 upstream keys, and then I have downstream key 1 and downstream key 2, and they're all kind of on the same page, which is weird. But I guess because there's not a lot of other folders like the upstream keys, they didn't feel like they needed to put them on separate pages. So if I close the downstream keys and I open an upstream key, you can see you have Luma, Chroma, and these are little folders, right? Just like file folders. And you can see when I switch, it changes everything because I'm changing the key. So that key then changes on the screen. So whatever I'm using, which I'm using this key right now down here, that's why I messed it up. So if I change from Luma to Chroma key, that graphic is not going to work because that's in key number 1. And so I'm not going to mess with that one. I don't have key number 2 on right now, so let's mess with it. So I'm in key number 2 now, and if I go to Chroma, Here's where I can take out colors out of the background, primarily used for chroma keying out the green. And you can adjust the levels. I don't have a green screen behind me, so I can't demo that. And then you have pattern, and you can put your picture in patterns and all that kind of crazy stuff, which I rarely ever use pattern. But if you go to Aaron Precky's channel, sometimes he'll put himself in a little round circle, and this is where you would go to do that. And then you have DVE, and I think we're all familiar with that. That's picture in picture on the screen. And right now, if I turn the DVD on in channel 2, you can see I have my media player 2. And if I go down here in my media player 2, let's just put this Davinci Resolve. Well, let's not, because right now the background to SuperSource is media player 2. It's using that. So what I will do, let's go back in here, let's just turn this DVE on real quick. Media player 2. So I'll turn it on real quick, and you can watch the craziness on the screen. And that fires up. Oh, sorry, upstream key. Let's turn upstream key 2 on. I turned the downstream key 2 on. Here we go. So it just covers me because that's what's in the media player right here. So this is media player 2, and this is media player 1. And if you have a Mini Pro or a Mini Pro ISO, they only have one of these boxes, and you drag these clips over there. So right now, if I wanted to put something else in the background, I could put this Davinci Resolve picture in the background. There it goes. I can put this in the background, but this just is what we want. It's what you're used to seeing, and it doesn't draw your eye away. And I could even put an animated background behind me if I want to. That's the beauty of the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO SuperSource, being able to put something in the background layer, and you can have it a HyperDeck, or you can have it a video playing from your computer, whatever you use, or software that's designed to put things on the screen or play videos, like a lot of venues are using. Can't think of the software right now for whatever reason. So again, you would do Luma just to put a graphic on the screen, Chroma to put to take out the color in the background, pattern to put different shapes and stuff on the screen, and then the DVE would be to just put picture in picture on the screen. And so if I'm in DVE and I do media player, so this is key 2, then I can shrink this down because it's a picture in picture. And I can slide this and put it wherever I want, not easily unless I'm in software that helps you do that. And so turning that on and off, that DVDs, then I can put my camera in, I could put a picture in that, and I could put it anywhere on the screen. And I can lay that right on top of my SuperSource. So that means that I could have 4 boxes open in SuperSource, and I could add the DVEs, and one of these nights will build that. And you can see that I could literally, if I had enough ways to bring in guests, I could have 6 guests on the screen, but realize I have to bring all 6 guests in and then run those into a channel to bring them into the live stream. And I always have 2 PCs hooked up, so I could bring someone from Zoom or whatever, any software. I could use Video Ninja, that's an OBS plugin for free, and I could use other equipment and you bring those in through my PC, or I could unplug one of my PCs and bring in my streaming bridge. So that's kind of how you do that. So the reason I'm showing you this is if you want to turn on a pre-multiplied key, go up here to key number 1. Here's where it is. Now this graphic below me is not a pre-multiplied key. So if I turn it on, the screen goes crazy because it's a whole different aspect of keying. So this is just designed to put a graphic on without transparency and without having to key it out. If I was to render this with a pre-multiplied key, then it would have just been fine. I could do minor adjustments, but it would look great. And I don't have one tonight to show you. I don't have it in my media player, but because this is just a static graphic and it looks great without having a pre-multiplied key. Now, if I did add a pre-multiplied key, it will sharpen up the edges of that graphic just a little bit, but that's not really the point tonight. People aren't really paying attention to the graphic once they see it, so no need to use up a pre-multiplying key for that. But it doesn't really make things more complicated. So Luma, Chroma, then you've got the ability to do pattern, and then DVE, and you can put whatever you want in the DVE. And those are great tools. But if you want to bring a video in through a HyperDeck, and you want to have transparency, you got to be able to render that video with a alpha channel. And that's what I wanted to chat about tonight. And so let's cut back to camera 2. And let me open up Davinci Resolve here in a minute, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But let me look in the chat here real quick. See if anybody else has joined me. I don't see anybody else. So any comments about what software you're using? Let's see. One trick I learned, this is from DJ Ware. One trick I learned from the HyperDeck / Davinci is using the same project for each of the files you want to render will save you some head scratching time. I have the previous model of the HyperDeck. Yeah, so I do that a lot with my wife's podcast. So when I'm done, I'll save the new podcast, and then I go back to the old one and I delete all of the video frames, and I continue saving that as a base so I don't have to add in the graphics. If we have a guest, I will add in a guest graphic for their name, but it saves a lot of time to have a main file, and then you're just dropping in your intro video or your lower thirds, whatever graphics you are, and that's great advice coming from Mr. Ware. So if you are using Davinci Resolve and you know it really well, please let me know, because I may be reaching out to you, and hopefully you would help me answer those questions, because again, I do have clients and I do want to recommend Davinci Resolve as often as I can, because the free version is very inexpensive, especially for some of my venues that don't have a big budget. So no, I'm not. Let's see. Thank you, David. Said such great information. Conjoined Technologies. Is Keith using a different camera tonight as his main shot? No, I'm using my 5D Mark IV, and it's a little wider for our post show because I got a special guest joining me here in the studio. So I just kind of left it wide, and I also changed the f-stop, because for some reason my camera was struggling with focusing. I had the f-stop way down to give you that blurred background, and I just didn't like it today, so I changed it. So if things look a little different, hopefully it's not bad. It does look focused. All my monitors are 5-inch or smaller, but I do have a little bit bigger picture right in front of me on the iPad, so I can see myself right there and check focus and also read the chat at the same time. So no new camera. So we're 35 minutes in, not counting the intro, and I want to hear what you're using for editing. So please put that in the chat, and because that may help me. And hopefully if you have a channel and I reach out to you, we can communicate. A couple of you, I have your emails, but I'd love to get your input. The Christmas decorations gone, but I do have the little icicles twinkling down. Let me back up here. So there they are, twinkling down. I took my sparkly lights down. I just felt like it's New Year. It's time to change things. I do have some of my new things on the shelf back there. Let me see if you can see that. Let me get out of the way here. So I got Sasquatch back there. It says he's the hide and seek champion. I got the Boba Fett back there on the second shelf, the Batmobile on the top shelf. And then on the bottom shelf there, I actually have the box to the Batmobile, just some new things in the corner. And I do have my MC lights up there. I also have one right there below, shooting up from the table on the TV. So thank you for shouting out to my nice Christmas decorations. It was fun to change things up in the studio, and I plan on doing more of that this year, just because the shot changes and looks a little different and maybe more interesting, and that's my hope. Conjoined technology, Ratso, exclamation, exclamation, and my day is made. Post-show, tune in. Remember, our conversation tonight in the post-show, for people that are interested in the post-show, 2 live streams in one night. It's crazy. It's very hard to get ready for both of them, especially today with our special guest. He takes some TLC. But in the post-show, we're going to talk about how we're going to do the post-show. You get a chance to give me some input. If you'd like more Q&A, if you'd like to have more guests. I was in contact with Adam Tao, who designed Mix Effects, and he's got a new version coming out, and he's willing to come on the show again. I don't know if we should do that in the main show or the post show, but I'd love to do that. And I want to reward people for coming to the post show. And I also want to be a little bit more transparent and share more things. I don't plan on bringing Ratso into this stream because I really want to focus in on live streaming tech, video tech, a little bit on lighting, a little bit on photography. I do want to get the light meter out and talk about it in the month of January before it's out. I think that's an important tool in dealing with light. I should be using it more in the studio than I do. I use it all the time when I'm doing photography, and I use it all the time when I'm on a video shoot, and I'll talk about why. And the reason I don't do it in here is mainly because it's in a different case and I'm lazy. So we want to talk about that. But in the post show, I want to answer more questions. I want to get a little bit more into lighting, a little bit more into photography. I have some friends I'm making on social media. I'd like to invite them in the show so they can talk about what they're passionate about from lighting side of it, photography side of it, because I'm really not trying to make this another YouTube channel that touches everything. I really want to stay on top of the Blackmagic design curve as much as I possibly can, as well as for my clients with live streaming and tech that they're using. And that's what I spend a lot of my free time studying. So if they're using a switcher that I'm not familiar with, I've got to bone up on that, get the books out and learn about it and figure out exactly how to use that tool enough so I can go in and make an intelligent decision on if there's any changes in equipment that need to take place or if it's just some computer or technical tweaks. So again, thank you for asking or mentioning Ratso. He will be potentially, right? I do have a special guest in the post show, and I may have said in a previous show that he'll be making an appearance sometime soon. So make sure you come pop into the post show. That starts at right around 6 or 5:15. As soon as we could end this one and get the intro video going on the second stream, but it's already up, so you can set a reminder. Can I turn off slow mode? I don't know if I can do that in the live stream. If anybody's done that when they've been live, let me bring this back over. I have the control software over on my desktop. Now it's back over on my BenQ. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Can I turn off the slow mode in the chat? To be honest, I have no clue how to do that during the live stream, so I apologize. I had it set for 30 seconds just to give me a chance to catch up on some of the comments. So I apologize if that's keeping you from being able to make back-to-back-to-back comments. So, and it's set for 30 seconds, and I'll try turning that off next week. And, but I have it set for tonight's live stream. And again, I apologize. I'm just trying to give myself a time to catch up with the chat. So Conjoling uses Final Cut Pro. So I don't have a Mac anymore, though I am considering adding a M1 at some point, or possibly a Mac and Air. We'll see. But I don't have that, so I can't demo Final Cut Pro. But if you know how to render with an alpha channel out of Final Cut Pro, I would love to have you reach out to me at my on my webpage, and you can find me lifejourneyproductions.com, and that's life's with a apostrophe S and a S at the end of production. So lifejourneyproductions.com, and you can go to the contact there and email me. I'd love to hear from you, and love to touch base with you outside of the live stream and get your input on rendering alpha channels in Final Cut Pro, and if you have a HyperDeck. So let me know in the chat. So anybody else have a software that you're using, and I haven't seen it yet? I don't see a response. From Tony here. Hey, Kevin, I see you in the chat. Sorry I missed you. I see the hello and the wave. So thank you for joining me. I apologize for not catching it till just now. It's nice when other people are shouting out to you. So if I missed it, I can go back and find it. So yeah, I'd love to know what you're using so we can actually start helping other people know how to render from Davinci Resolve and Final Cut Pro. The other thing I'd like to hear from you guys, if there's any other really good editing software that you've had experience with for live streaming. So are you editing in another software that's not Adobe Premiere or Final Cut or Davinci Resolve? I'd love to see that in the chat so other people can see it. So please add that. David's using Final Cut. So there's 2 votes for Final Cut and my 1 vote for Adobe Premiere. So we are outnumbered with Mac users, which anyway, Macs have always kind of been that editing tool. PCs have always kind of struggled because of the integration of cards and chips and CPUs. I've built PCs, so I understand that. And then you go into a Mac, and the big thing that is attractive to Macs is everything's kind of designed to work together. And I always tell people when you have memory trying to talk to a CPU, and then you have a video card trying to talk to everything else, and then you have plug-in PCI cards as well, maybe a network card or maybe a modem. All of this stuff has to communicate, and a lot of times they're faster than the highway, right? You get on a 6-lane highway, man, you can pass people. If you have a special lane for 2 passengers, like you have when you get into the Seattle area and all those places around me, then if you have a passenger, you can cruise into it. But a lot of times the PCs do not have good technology on the motherboard that pass this information, and that becomes a bottleneck. When you get into kind of the Mac world, one of the things that they've been really good at is making sure that everything has the speed, including even ports going in and out of a Mac, or no ports going in and out of a Mac, right? All of that has changed, and even the Lightning port that none of us liked when we lost our 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, right? And we got a Lightning port instead. A lot of us were irritated until people came out with preamps that you could plug into that Lightning port and get really good quality preamps into an iPhone or into an iPad. That's great. And that was not available when you just had a 3.5 millimeter jack. That was for sound, and maybe if you were lucky, sound and microphone in and out, so that you could use your regular Bluetooth speakers or whatever, not Bluetooth, but obviously your regular tethered microphones and all that with headphones. So that wouldn't be available if you didn't have special jacks to do that. So, and there's even talk in some of the countries right now to try to change everything to USB-C fast port and get rid of Lightning, and we'll just see how all of that plays out in the future. So, so I see LMAO. Is that code for something, Tony? Let me know in the chat if that's code for a software. Or LAMO. I don't know. You never know with chat. So ScreenFlow, I see that in the chat here from you, Tony. So ScreenFlow by Telestream. I mentioned it in my reply to Freddie. And what is that for? What is ScreenFlow for, Tony? What do you use it for? If you let us know in the chat. And again, I apologize if you just chatted, you have to wait 30 seconds, which is an eternity, right? For some of us. So again, let's just pop in here. Let me change this again. And let me open up Davinci Resolve. So while that's opening, if you have any other questions tonight that you would like to ask or comments, I'd love to hear those. It doesn't have to be on topic, but we will try to stay on topic as much as we can because we have a little less time, and then I'll open it up to more topics in the post show. But I have Davinci Resolve open right now. And again, I've only edited one project ever in Davinci Resolve, and I did it on purpose to force myself to use it so I could share it with a client that was looking for doing some of their own editing. So I edited this whole project in Davinci Resolve so that they could download the project or download Davinci Resolve, and I'd be able to answer some basic questions with them. And so let me bring back open. Where have you gone? My macros here. Oh, I should just be able to cut back to this. Wake up, Keith, because I still have it in my super source in my preview screen. So this is Davinci Resolve, and there is the still image. One of the images I took of Ratso when he was in my studio reading my new book. I have it right here. I unboxed it in the show last week. Those of you that know, I'm a huge Batman and Robin early series, TV series, and just a superhero fan in general. So Ratso was hanging out with me in the studio the other day, and he was thumbing through that book, and he actually made some comments about Batman, and he doesn't get it. He wasn't alive back in the 60s. So this is a 1966 Batman. And on top of that, just so you can see that this is a transparent graphic, if I grab the playhead right here and I pull it across, you're going to see the transparency kind of comes and then goes. And again, I just grabbed one of my stinger images here. So you need a graphic. So then if you turn Ratso off and then just run the playhead, hopefully my computer didn't just lock up. Obviously, I'm using my computer to monitor the chat. My computer's been on all day long. So a lot of times if I have all of these things open, then the memory's being used by other stuff, and it takes a few minutes for some of this software actually to get CPU power, even though I have an i9 processor inside my laptop. It's a over $3,000 laptop by Asus. I bought it specifically to travel and do video editing. So this is what's going to go with me tomorrow as I leave early in the morning to drive up to Spokane, Washington. So if I scroll through this again, there's that transparent graphic. So there's more than one way to render out of Davinci Resolve, but I'm going to go down to the bottom screen right here and just click on Deliver. And so it's not render, it's not export media. With Davinci Resolve, it's Deliver. So if you're going to deliver to a client or deliver to an SD card, you go to the delivery. And then when you click on this, it opens up this screen. And you'll see up here, you have some presets. And I just learned about this, so I am a rookie, but I just wanted to talk about it tonight. You have some presets. You can go to YouTube, and that's going to be H.264. You can go to Vimeo, and I don't use Vimeo. You can go to Twitter. You can go to Dropbox, and you have all this menu, H.264, H.265, Final Cut Pro, IMF, which I don't have a clue what that is, probably from the movie industry times. And then you've got Avid, Pro Tools, audio only. So again, these are presets, and then they have some choices in those. So I can click like on this YouTube drop-down menu, and it gives me 720p, 1080p, 2060p, because you can upload 2060 or 2160p 4K to YouTube, and I do that when I render my videos. I upscale, I make them in 1080p normally, and I upscale them to 4K. And then I upload those to YouTube as a 4K 2160 file because it just looks better on the screen. It just seems to have a little bit better color resolution, even though I didn't shoot it in 4K. It upscales it, and the upscale technology over the years has gotten really well. So you have all of these. Vimeo has choices. Obviously, Twitter has choices. And you can go through all of these, but I need to be able to render with an alpha channel. So you click on custom, which I have open right now. Then you can go down here and you can name your file. So let's just say we call this Stinger. Enter. I can set a location where I'm going to send it, so I can send it right to this disk if I plug it in. But I'm not going to render this right now. I just want to show you the process. Then as I come down here, I have video choices, audio choices, and file choices. I want video because I'm trying to render video. And then here's QuickTime format. But you can see right here, there is no Final Cut Pro like I use in my Adobe Premiere. So now it's a QuickTime render in a Final Cut, or in, not Final Cut, in Apple ProRes, excuse me. There's no choices here for Apple ProRes. It's in an Apple ProRes codec, and that's what I use. And I can render it with an alpha channel, and I can do all my videos and all my graphics that way. And if I have a graphic with an alpha channel, I will click on alpha channel and render it that way. And I make most of my motion graphics, like the Stinger, I make those in Final Cut Pro, and then I render them from Final Cut Pro. Most of what I render out of Adobe Premiere is just full-size videos, like my intro reel and my outro reel. And believe it or not, I use OBS to record my intro reels. I just find it very easy to go in, load a still image, put it full screen, get the time clocks right out of OBS, which I love. I don't own any time clocks, so I don't have any way of bringing time clocks right now any other way. There's plenty of ways. I just haven't used any other way. I use OBS, so I just put the time clock on there. I can create whatever time clock I want. And then I render that file with my background music, and then I'll bring it in Adobe Premiere and add the still images, add other graphics on the screen, and produce it just like a regular video, but I just like using OBS. So after I choose a codec, so I tried to go up here and choose, because a HyperDeck will also usually read QuickTime files. So I tried H.264, I looked through the MP4 file choices, and you can see here is a full HD high 4K. I could bring this back down to 1920 by 1080p, and then you would look right here if it was able to render with an alpha channel, and it doesn't pop up with an alpha channel. But let's say if I go up here and I choose QuickTime, and then under QuickTime, not H.264, I use a DNX HD or just a DNX HR. And then if you go to 444 12-bit, you have the ability right here to export an alpha channel. And I looked through most of the codecs, not all of them yet. It took a long time to get in here. I started with a longer file, then I created a really short file, so they render really quickly. But I've been going through every single choice to be able to find the ability to export an alpha channel. All that means that you're going to export that channel that's going to work in the key output of your HyperDeck, and it's going to help you make the transparencies look really nice. So I've tried all of these so far, about 6 or 7 of them, and my SD card will read in my HyperDeck. It can see the file, because if anybody knows, if you have the right codec, then the HyperDeck can't even see this. I set it for the exact same thing I set it for this codec. So if I was using QuickTime DNX HR, I would set the HyperDeck to every single DNX codec and try to play that file, and it could see it, and it said it was playing, but nothing played on the screen. Was exactly the problem my client was having. And yet I can render in Adobe Premiere or render in After Effects with an alpha channel using ProRes, and it just works great. as long as I have ProRes set in the front of my HyperDeck, and that's what I shared with you guys a few minutes ago. So again, tonight is as much me sharing what I'm learning as well as hearing from you on if you have any solutions. So let's look at the chat here real quick. I'm glad you're laughing. I hope you're not laughing at me. You're laughing with me, Tony. Let's see here. ScreenFlow is for 3 people who know what it is. Yeah, I'm clueless. I probably should know. I will do my research after the live tonight to learn. Don't knock if you haven't tried it. Oh. What, you don't think Ratso's real and you can't hang out with him? You don't understand ventriloquism, Tony. Tony's comment was, I think that's what he's laughing out loud. You know how it is. You're either in character or you're not in character. There is no halfway. You guys wanted me to do a lesson on ventriloquism. You have to be all in. You got to believe that character's real. And so I was sitting there thinking about what I wanted to put for the still image for the post show. And I thought, you know what I really thought would be cool is I would love to share my new book with my buddy Ratso. And so anyway, you can see the photographs, and, you know, he made a comment that you saw in the still image. Actually, if you watch the intro tonight, you're going to see another comment at the very end of the post show intro. So pay close attention. He made another comment after I gave him a hard time about it. And I did give him a hard time about it. So I hope that's why you're laughing. Good to see Ken here with Cruising with Ken. Thank you. He says, well done, hero. I have to get a stinger animation myself. Can you purchase them or do you have to make it? No, I think you can purchase plenty of stingers. They're just transparent graphics. I don't have a resource for you, David, but I'll take a look when I get back in the studio on Thursday. And I'd actually like to purchase a couple of my own. I do know that Adam Tao has some really cool backgrounds. So I'll email him too this week and see where he gets his cool backgrounds. He uses them in SuperSource and they look really cool. He's actually purchased HyperDecks since we started talking here on the channel. Some of you guys have purchased HyperDecks as well or have had them already. So I just want to say this in all fairness. Let's get out of this. Well, did I finish? So once you choose these, sidetrack, once you choose these and you click on export with an alpha, then you would add to your render queue. So I'm going to click on add to your render queue. It wants to know where I want to put it. So I'm just going to put it right here. No, let's not go there. Let's just go in my travel SSD drive. And then it's up here in the queue, and I'm going to delete this old queue, and then I can render it. So if I click on render all, it's going to render everything that's in the queue, and I only have this one file now in the queue. Hit render all, and now it's actually rendering, which is really going to work my CPU, but it's a short file, and it's done. It says it's completed. It's 3 seconds long. That's how long my stinger is. And now if I took that file and loaded it onto an SD drive, and I've already tried these codecs and put it in the HyperDeck, it just does not read it. And so one of the things that I need to figure out is there a Final Cut way of rendering alpha channels so the HyperDeck will read it? And is there a way to render? And I'm sure with Final Cut Pro, those of you that have it are probably just rendering ProRes into your SD drive or your SSD drive now if you have the newer HyperDeck, because you can use it through the USB-C port. And then you're playing it right from a ProRes file, but I'm interested to see if there's any other codecs other than ProRes that you've been using that will actually play. Now, you can record something in the HyperDeck at H.264 And if you have the higher end 4K version, you can record at H.265, which is a new codec, and you can then play those back in your HyperDeck because you've recorded directly on the drive in that codec inside the player. And of course, the HyperDeck will play that, but you're not really set up to record into a HyperDeck pre-multiplied graphic. It's just regular graphics. So you could play a lower thirds, and it's just going to be with a black background if you record it that way, because there's no way to input alpha and key. You have to render it that way. So if you know of a way of doing that, please put that in the chat tonight. I do have replay set so that people can replay the chat, and if they watch this later, they can go back and see what you guys put in the chat. So I would appreciate you doing that. And so you guys can check out software that came up tonight. You can take a look at Final Cut. You can take a look at Davinci Resolve. Again, Davinci Resolve has a free version, and then you can buy the little mixing console for $395. If you buy the software for the studio version, what I would call kind of the professional version of Davinci Resolve, you are going to pay $295 for that, and you can, for another $100, you can get this nice console, and you can use it to actually put your projects together in Davinci Resolve. So make sure you watch videos on that. So before we run out of time, so that file's rendered. It went to where I put it on my hard drive, and then I would just copy that to my SD drive. And a lot of times I'll render directly to my SD drive. I have it out. It's not plugged in, so I can't do that tonight. And then I'll plug that into my HyperDeck. So that's the process of building a project, either a video or a animated graphics or just a static lower thirds in Photoshop, whatever. And then you could render that as a still image if you wanted to, a number of still images, and make that a video, and that you could render that as well. Because if it's not going to move and you just want to render it, you could just take your lower thirds, pull it into Adobe Premiere, copy, or stretch it all the way out over a timeline and give yourself a 4-minute or a 40-second graphic that's video and play in your HyperDeck. So now you have one more way to play lower thirds, or you can just use your media player. Either way, but that is another way you can use Adobe Premiere. But if you want to create an After Effects project, you need to, with a transparent background, then you're going to want to, especially if it's a motion graphic, render it with an alpha channel. So now let's just pop up here. I'm going to close Davinci Resolve. Better save this project. Cut back over to here. Close this all together to give my PC a little bit of a break. Now I want to bring back open this web page. And obviously, if you type in and search for Davinci Resolve, you're going to get all of the advertisements from B&H to what came up here. Yeah, lots of options before you'll ever see Blackmagic. But if you go to Blackmagic's site, you're going to get their downloads. There it is. Okay, let me open this back up. I'll stop their video here. Now let me go back. So this is Davinci Resolve, and you can see right here you have the free download, and then you can purchase it. So those are your two options. And if you scroll down here, it tells you all the features, all the cool things, all the information. So check out Davinci Resolve, especially downloading the free version. And if you go all the way down here, I believe, even works with third-party plugins now. You've got multi-user collaboration support now. Lots of cool features in the software. And then this is the deck I was talking about right here. I think it sells for $395. You can see right there, that's the retail. And you get a copy of the 295 version of Davinci Resolve, which a lot of people have purchased this device. I've come close. It probably will happen this year unless they raise the price. But again, I don't edit in Davinci Resolve, so it would be for training purposes only. And most of what I really need to train would be in the free version. So Davinci Resolve has color panels available too. So if you want to do coloring, it's really designed to do that as well. It's a great software, though. You can do coloring in Adobe Premiere. And again, I'm sure you can in Final Cut Pro. So if you guys want to say yay or nay to that, that would be great. So two great versions. So right here it says Davinci Resolve 17. So you have software. So you have the free version and the 295 version, editing keyboards. And I saw here yesterday somewhere it has the Neuro Engine, it has the stereoscopic 3D tools, dozens of extra Resolve FX filters, Fairlight FX audio plugins, plus advanced HDR grading and HDR scopes. So there's a lot of extra features available if you spend $295, and I'm sure they get a lot of users to use the free version, and then if they're doing big productions, they have just enough things that they need, they'll add then the pay version. And so there you go. So I can run Davinci Resolve on my PCs. Obviously I can run Adobe Premiere. And so again, I've done demos inside Adobe Premiere before. I'm not going to dive into that because we're almost time to roll the outro. But I just want to say that if you have input on good choices for other freeware software for editing, we have lots of people that attend this channel or come onto my channel and watch the videos that are trying to learn how to do that. So thanks, Tony, for typing out what that meant. So he wasn't calling me lame-o, so I knew you weren't, Tony. I just figured you're laughing at something, and I know you better than that. Let's see. Are you from Minnesota? That's a question to the chat. Kevin Crawley, looking to try Final Cut Pro and Davinci Resolve, working on a new computer and a desktop setup. Great. I see Alan in the chat. Thank you for joining me, Alan. I appreciate it very much. It says, hello, Keith from LTAK. So thank you for letting us know where you are. And love to know if you are using a specific software to edit. We've been talking about Final Cut Pro, Davinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, and there's lots of other softwares out there. I'd love to hear about those in the chat. That's the purpose for this live stream, is to talk about editing software, and if there's software out there that you can then render to a HyperDeck, if you know how to do that, with an alpha channel. So that's really what we're trying to get information from. So I'm asking you guys to rack your brains as well. And if you discover anything this week, feel free again to go to lifejourneyproductions.com, go to the contact page, and just send me a note saying, hey, Keith, this is so-and-so. I found a video, or I found a way to do an export from Davinci Resolve with an alpha channel that plays in the HyperDecks. I would love to know that. And I will know hopefully by next Tuesday, and I'll be sharing that with you. I'm going to do my own research when I get back in the studio. I do have a working trip tomorrow, so. So if I missed a chat from you or a question from you, would you just put just a Q inside a comment so I can touch base with those before we move over to the post show? I have a little less lengthy intro video. Again, watch the end of that intro video if you're coming to the post show. My post show is a little bit more behind the scenes. I do have a special guest tonight in the studio with me. You may not want to miss that. Again, we'll be talking about some other stuff in that about the post show and what you'd like to see. And we're going to be having that Q&A discussion for pretty much most of the time tonight, other than when my special guest is with me and if I'm answering any specific questions outside of that. So So I know the chat's delayed, so I want to wait a few more seconds. But again, I know these are shorter live streams every Tuesday. I'm trying to pack them with information. Again, if you'd like to see Adam Tao on the live stream again, let me know. If he was in the post show, I would, if he agreed to that, we would be a little bit more personal. And if in the live stream, it would be focused more on what's going on specifically with mix effects. And that's kind of the difference between my live show and my post show. Post show is going to be a little bit more behind the scenes, a little bit more what's going on in my life. I'm going to talk tonight a little bit more about this job I have tomorrow and bring back footage for that. I'll show a little bit of that in the live next week, but I'm also going to show more of that in the post show next week. So keep that in mind as I go to Spokane. So looking one more time, any final comments, anything you'd like to add? Again, the post show is a live stream right here on the channel. And so you can go and click into that when it goes live. It'll go live somewhere in the next 2-3 minutes. And I need to roll the outro so that we can get over to the post show. So I see a new guest here. So hello from Germany. Nice channel. My English is not that best, but I understand a lot. Great. Thank you for joining me. You guys can see that. It's Akil Pulko. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but that's my best attempt. Thank you so much for joining me. Obviously, you subscribe to the channel because you're able to chat. I do have 30 seconds delay set on the chat, so keep that in mind. So any last comments or questions before we roll out? Again, the post show will start as soon as I can get this one done and that one live. So hang out for that. Use the restroom. Get a cup of coffee. I hope you'll join me for that post show. And if you are watching this after the fact, then pop all over to that video. It's in a playlist called The Post Show. And I'm here on my channel. And so you can check out all the post shows there. I will be time stamping those here probably next week. So you'll be able to go specifically to things that I talked about. Like I'll have a timestamp for Davinci Resolve and as well as in this live stream for timestamps as well. So again, hello all the way from Germany. Hello from Venezuela. Lots of other people from here, Australia. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want a little bit longer live, I can always move the post show a little bit later, but together they're about 2 hours long and 2 hours and 50 minutes long. And that's about as much as I have the energy to do too as well. So, but anyway, thank you so much tonight for joining me, guys. Thank you for being a part. You can go back and watch this video if you missed any of it and joined me late. But that's it for tonight's live, Tuesday live at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And we'll be here again next week. And I'll have some stories about this venue and what they allow me to talk about. And I'll be sharing that next week. So join me there and I'll have some footage as well. And maybe a little interview that I can bring into next week's recorded live stream and my post show. So thank you guys so much. Let me get this outro ready. Using a macro. And so thank you so much. I should probably change back to this other view because I think all my macros leave from here. And so that's kind of a look at Davinci Resolve, a little bit of the differences between those two versions and the dilemma that I have with the HyperDeck, and I want to solve it. So I hope you guys will help me do that and how we can render outside of Adobe Premiere and After Effects in Davinci Resolve with a alpha channel. So until next week's live, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. I hope I see you over in the post show, but if not, we'll see you again here very, very soon. And with that, could be Ratso next.